So it's a lovely snowy winter day here, and it's one of the first proper snowfalls we've had here this season, the last few days. And since it's possibly also, knowing Berlin weather, maybe the last proper snowfall we'll have this entire winter, I thought it would be nice to come outside, partly just to enjoy the really lovely winter atmosphere in the forest, but also to see what I can find as far as doing some more macro photo and video. And in this case, as you can tell by the different equipment I've got with me, or the slightly different setup, my focus is a bit more on video today. So I've got the X-H2 and Laowa 65mm, my usual macro photo setup, on a tripod in this case to keep a bit more steady for video. And I've also got a little LED light panel on a small, whatever you want to call those, gorilla pod, monkey pod, one of those little flexible tripods. So I'm just going to see what I can find and talk a bit about my process along the way. So one trick that can be handy when you're using a tripod for macro video or macro photos too, is if you have a tripod like this one, where you can unscrew something from the bottom and take out the center post and place it back in from the bottom. And this allows you just to get a much lower angle. So if I now screw this in the top here, I can fasten it. I could go basically down to ground level. In this case, I just want to get about the level of this log and shoot upwards slightly towards this fly that's on the top. Something like that looks quite nice, I think. I've just flipped over this piece of bark, or peeled it back off this fallen tree, and I've spotted a quite large ichneummonid wasp of some sort. I'm not sure the exact species. And while I could get a couple of video clips, it's staying quite still, and I think it's even still enough to get a few photos. So I'm going to quickly grab my flashing diffuser and take a few photos of this wasp. And as always, carefully place the bark back underneath, allow the wasp to go back into hibernation, and I hope that I haven't disturbed it too much. So as that wasp shows, it's always good to be prepared for different kinds of situations, whether it's photo and video, or also dress properly for the weather. So obviously warm enough, and in this case, one thing that I find really important for this when it's snowy is this little kneeling pad. This one is falling apart a bit and it's held together with duct tape, but it's enough that if I'm kneeling down on the ground, my knees don't get wet. I've got reinforced knees and another layer underneath. Even then, my knees would get quite wet if I kneeled down straight into the snow. So that's one thing that's important. Proper gloves as well, but something that you can still operate the camera with. And in general, just make sure you're warm enough, because when you're doing macro photos or video, you'll often be staying still in one spot for quite a while, and it's easy to get cold like that. This seems like a good spot to talk about my settings for video, and I'm shooting at 4K in 60 frames per second so that I can slow down the footage to half speed if necessary, which creates a bit smoother motion. And along with that, I'm shooting at ISO 1250 roughly, which is the base ISO when shooting in f-log2, which allows me to do more color grading. And with the light, usually I can get an aperture between f5.6 and f8. Here I found something which is always nice to see, which is a springtail in the snow, a globular springtail. And I've reversed my center post of my tripod again to get the camera as low down as possible and to get as low an angle and the lens as close as possible to the springtail for some higher magnification shots. Also again, using a little GorillaPod to get the LED panel for more lighting, since it's starting to get a little bit dark. So it was really nice getting out into the snowy forest, and I think I got a few nice shots, and also just in general it's always fun to practice and try and learn more about macro video and improve my technique with that, because that's something which I definitely want to do more of and get better at in future. And I've been thinking about maybe putting together some form of short film or something with macro video, or working towards that throughout the year. Let's see, no concrete plans on that, but this seemed like a good opportunity to kind of practice and get started on doing some more filming. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.